Today in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you every day with a new topic. And today our topic is West Bengal, culture and tradition. West Bengal is a state in the eastern region of India along the Bay of Bengal. With over 91 million inhabitants, it is the fourth most populous state and the 14th largest state by area in India. Covering an area of 88,752 square kilometer, it is also the seventh most populous country subdivision of the world. Part of the Bengal region of the Indian subcontinent, it borders Bangladesh in the east and Nepal and Bhutan in the north. It also borders the Indian states of Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, Sikkim, and Assam. The state capital is Kolkata, the third largest metropolis and seventh largest city by population in India. West Bengal includes the Darjeeling Himalayan hill region, the Ganges Delta, the region, Raha region, and the coastal Sundarbans. The states, one moment, please. Ms. Sharma, please keep yourself on mute. Thank you. The state's main ethnic groups are Bengalis, with the Bengali Hindus forming the demographic majority. The area's early history featured a succession of Indian empires, internal squabbling, and a tussle between Hinduism and Buddhism for dominance. Ancient Bengal was the site of several major Janpads, while the earliest cities date back to the Vedic period. The region was part of several ancient pan-Indian empires, including the Vengas, Mauryans, and Guptas. The citadel of Gauda served as the capital of Gauda Kingdom, the Pala Empire, and the Sena Empire. Islam was introduced through trade with the Abbasid Caliphate, but following the Ghurid conquests led by Bakhtiar Khalji and the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate, the Muslim faith spread across the entire Bengal region. During the Bengal Sultanate, the territory was a major trading nation in the world and was often referred by the Europeans as the richest country to trade with. It was absorbed into the Mughal Empire in 1576. Simultaneously, some parts of the region were ruled by several Hindu states and Baro Bhuan landlords, and part of it was briefly overrun by the Suri Empire. Following the death of Aurangzeb in the early 1700s, the industrialized Mughal Bengal became a semi-independent state under the Nawabs of Bengal and showed signs of the first industrial revolution. The region was later conquered by the British East India Company at the Battle of Palsi in 1757 and became part of the Bengal Presidency. The region was a hotbed of the Indian independence movement and has remained one of India's great artistic and intellectual centers. Following widespread religious violence, the Bengal Legislative Council and the Bengal Legislative Assembly voted on the partition of Bengal in 1947 along religious lines into two independent dominions: West Bengal, a Hindu-majority Indian state, and East Bengal, a Muslim-majority province of Pakistan, which later became the independent Bangladesh. Post-Indian independence, West Bengal's economy is based on agricultural production and small and medium-sized enterprises. For many decades, the state underwent political violence and economic stagnation. Today, the economy of West Bengal is the sixth largest state economy in India, with a gross state domestic product GSDP of rupees 12.54 lakhs crores, that is $180 billion, and has the country's 23rd highest GSDP per capita of rupees 1,15,748, that is $1,600 US. West Bengal also has the 28th highest ranking among Indian states in Human Development Index, with the index value being less than that of India. The state government debt of rupees 4 lakhs crore, that is 56 billion US dollars or 32.6% of GSDP, is fifth highest in India, but has dropped from 40.65% since 2010-11. There is a moderate unemployment. West Bengal has two World Heritage Sites and ranks as the seventh most visited tourist destination in India. The Bengal Resonance and the Brahmo Samaj socio-cultural reform movements significantly influenced the culture and economic life of Bengal. Between 1905 and 1911, an abortive attempt was made to divide the province of Bengal into two zones. Bengal suffered from the Great Bengal Famine in 1943, which claimed 3 million lives during World War II. Bengalis played a major role in the Indian independence movement, in which revolutionary groups such as Anushlin Samiti and Jugantar were dominant. Armed attempts against the British Raj from Bengal reached a climax when news of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose leading the Indian National Army against the British reached Bengal. The Bengali language boasts a rich literary heritage it shares with neighboring Bangladesh. West Bengal has a long tradition of folk literature, evidenced by the Charyapada, a collection of Buddhist mystic songs dating back to the 10th and 11th centuries. Mangal Kavya, a collection of Hindu narrative poetry composed around the 13th century. Sri Krishna Kirtana, a pastoral Vaishnava Dharma in verse composed by Boru Chandidas. Thakur Mar Juli, a collection of Bengali folk and fairy tales compiled by Dakshina Narjan Mitra Majumdar, and stories of Gopal Bhar, a court jester in medieval Bengal. In the 19th and 20th century, Bengali literature was modernized in the works of authors such as Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, whose works marked a departure from the traditional verse-oriented writings prevalent in that period. Michael Madhusudan Dutt, a pioneer in Bengali drama, who introduced the use of blank verse, and Rabindranath Tagore, who reshaped Bengali literature and music. Indian art saw the introduction of contextual modernism in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Other notable figures include Qazi Nazrul Islam, whose compositions from the avant-garde genre of Nazrul Sangeet, Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyay, whose work on contemporary social practice in Bengal are widely acclaimed, and Manik Bandyopadhyay, who is considered one of the leading lights of modern Bengali fiction. In modern times, Jibandranath Das has been acknowledged as the premier poet of the post-Tagore era in India. Other writers, including Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay, best known for his work Pathar Panchali; Tara Shankar Bandyopadhyay, well known for his portrayal of the lower strata of society. A notable music tradition is the Baul music practiced by the Baul, a sect of mystic minstrels. Other folk music forms include Gambhira and Bhaviya. Folk music in West Bengal is often accompanied by the iktara, a one-string instrument. Shyama Sangeet is a genre of devotional songs praising the Hindu goddess Kali, and Kirtan is devotional group songs dedicated to the god Krishna. West Bengali films are shot mostly in studios in the Kolkata's neighborhood of Tollygunge. The name Tollywood, similar to Hollywood and Bollywood, is derived from that name. The Bengali film industry is well known for its art films and has produced acclaimed directors like Satyajit Ray, who is widely regarded as one of the greatest filmmakers of the 20th century. There are significant examples of fine arts in Bengal from earlier times, including the terracotta art of Hindu temples and the Kolighat paintings. Bengal has been in the vanguard of the modernism in the fine arts. Abhindranath Tagore, called the father of modern Indian art, started the Bengal School of Art, one of the whose goals was to promote the development of styles of art outside the European realist tradition that had been taught in art colleges under the British colonial administration. The capital, Kolkata, was the workplace of several social reformers, including Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and Swami Vivekanand. Their social reforms eventually led to a cultural atmosphere that made it possible for practices like sati, dowry, and caste-based discrimination or untouchability to be abolished. Rice and fish are traditional favorite foods, leading to a saying in Bengali, Mache Bhate Bengali, that translate as fish and rice make a Bengali. Bengali women commonly wear the sari, often distinctly designed according to local cultural customs. In urban areas, many women and men wear Western attire. Durga Puja is the biggest, most popular, and widely celebrated festival in West Bengal. The 5-day long, colorful Hindu festival includes intense celebration across the states. Pandals are erected in various cities, towns, and villages throughout West Bengal. Eid ul-Fitr is the most important Muslim festival in West Bengal. They celebrate the end of Ramadan with prayers, alms giving, shopping, gift giving, and fasting. Christmas, called Borodin, Great Day, is perhaps the next major festival celebrated in Kolkata after Durga Puja. Just like Durga Puja, Christmas in Kolkata is an occasion when all communities and people of every religion take part. And to discuss today our topic, that West Bengal culture and tradition, we have a very elite, knowledgeable, experienced, those who knows Bengal inside out panel with us. I would like to invite my first panelist. He is Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand is a senior psychiatrist and marriage counselor. Dr. Rajiv Anand passed his MBBS in 1976 and did MD in psychiatry in 1980 from King George's Medical College, Lucknow. He opted to serve his country when it was very common to settle abroad for brighter future. He has been serving society with his base in Mumbai. He has clients all over India as well as in many other countries. He was honored with Lifetime Achievement Award by AMA. He has conducted more than 3,000 workshops for different groups and companies with audience size of 10 to 800. His television program on various channels have been widely appreciated for his forthright and practical approach. He is leading the field of mental and emotional well-being for 40 years. He was president of IMA for 2 times. He was interviewed in several talk shows in domestic and internationally. Welcome, Dr. Rajiv Anand, on our show. Dr. Rajiv Anand, you are a leading psychiatrist. You are dealing with all sects, all the people from all the sects of the society, which includes the residents, all the persons belongs to different states of the country. And you also have a good clientage from the West Bengal, Bengalese clientage. Now, we would like to know from you, West Bengal culture and tradition. Dr. Rajiv Anand, please.
Good morning, my fellow panelists, Madam Shobha Mathurji, Subhashish Sunil Das, and Shamishra ji. And thank you to Mr. Lal for a kind introduction. And let me say right at the outset that I'm more eager to listen to my panelist speaker who are far more experienced and have words of wisdom and a lot more knowledge about West Bengal or Bengal culture and tradition. I am not born, brought up in culture in West Bengal, but I have a great interest. Welcome, Sharmishra ji. Somehow strangely, right from my childhood years, I have had a great fascination for Bengali culture. Maybe partly it could be because I was born, brought up in Mathura, where Vrindavan has many Bengalis and lot more Bengali streets out there. So we happened to visit as a child. So So probably fascination began from there, and all throughout the last so many years, 6 decades or so, I have looked forward to interacting with Bengalis. And Bengalis are not known merely for, of course, they are known for having a great culture, which had been spread further by Rabindranath Tagore, by Jagdish Chandra Bose, who was a great scientist, by Satyendranath Sinha ji, by Amrit. Bengal is the only state in the whole country which has got two Nobel laureates, Rabindranath Tagore and Amrit Sen. And how can we forget J.C. Bose? How can we forget Dr. B.C. Roy? The great,
I think, excuse me, Dr. Rajivanand, I think we recently have one more
yeah,
Nobel laureate,
we have,
Ms. Abhijit Banerjee.
yeah, Ms.
He,
Banerjee. So
he's
Bengal,
now we have three.
okay, so Bengal is the only state in the whole India which has brought three Nobel laureates to the fore, to the world stage, and which is no mean achievement. Secondly, I would say that 70 years back, Bengal had its own different culture. Everybody in the country looked up to Bengal. So much so that when East India Company began, they decided Bengal, Kolkata to be made capital. And where have we reached? Bengalis were the most soft-spoken, most sweet-spoken. They are delicious rasagollas. They are delicious. Many of the sandesh and many of the sweets, they still bring the water into the mouth. Their traditional way of dressing themselves, their language, their manners, their etiquettes, and the word which nowhere else could be more apt to be applied to Bhadralo. Bhadralo. And that word is still there in the dictionary, but probably it has lost its smell, fragrance in the society. Where have all those Bhadralok disappeared? When a particular party came in 1970 and spread various kind of violent activity that nobody spoke about it. I also acknowledge that this was the Bhadralok and many other people who threw the violent methods of a particular party, albeit bit late after 3.5 decades. Eventually, 3.5 decades later, they were thrown out. Now we are witnessing another scene. So it gives pain to me when I see Bengal and when I see Bengalis who have to exit Bengal, who have to exit West Bengal and move to settle in different part of the world. In fact, a huge population of Bengalis are settled abroad in various jobs, various responsible jobs, high placed jobs. Highly intellectual people are there. Why they have to leave it? What what gives concern to me and pain to me, because I have a substantial number of clients from West Bengal on both the gender, young and old. I interact with them. I learn from them. I often ask questions about what has Bengal gone through in the last 5, 6 decades, particularly last 6, 7 decades, because till 70s, and Shobhaji would probably corroborate further with me, and so Subhashish Das, that till 60s or so, Bengal wasn't as bad as it is today. If given an opportunity to go back to Calcutta and settle over there, how many of us would like to go over there? I have good number of psychiatrists friends in Kolkata and I interact with them. So I do have patience. I know the ground reality. I myself look forward to going to Kolkata as often as possible, whether it's Bhawanipur, whether it's Alipur, or whether it's Garya Ghat, whether it's Havra Bridge or Victoria Memorial. And I watch or traveling in the metro or going to Kali Ghat and seeing people, their lifestyle, their mentality, their approach. Now, I think part is that metropolitan life, part is that cosmopolitan life, that so much has happened over the last 6, 7 decades, that original culture had been corrupted. That's one region which almost has happened in every city of the country. But much more than that, the politics have taken, which we are going to speak less today, because we have a program lined up next Thursday on politics or the election scene in Bengal. But today we are not going to touch the election scene or politics of it. We are concerned about why the great culture of West Bengal has deteriorated, why the Bengalis who were leaders right from Vivekananda, right from Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Rabindranath Tagore, whose Gitanjali and many other poems showed to the world what great poetry was. Where has the great Bengali food, with the great Bengali culture, interaction, greatest clubs in the country, if there are anywhere, they are in Kolkata. Club culture, nowhere else. Much less in Pune and much less in some part of the Bombay. Nowhere else except in Kolkata. So why this deterioration has taken place? Because we celebrate and we look up to, we look forward to, knowing that this part of East India, or this part of our country, had much greater value than other part of the country. And we would like to know. I'm also eager to listen to Sarmishra ji, who joined a bit late, yet welcome. And so with Subhashi, so with Shobhaji, that what can be done by all of us together to salvage the losing reputation of Bengalis? Are we at the mercy of the politicians? Are we at the mercy of the good hoodlums and the guddas in different parts of Bengal? Are we so helpless that we can't save the culture of the Bengal? Are we going to be exiting Bengal forever and only the poor people would be left? Bengal with, I believe, 28, 29 districts. And as Mr. Lal has mentioned, very high very high gross product or gross growth over there. And yet the average person is poor. Average person doesn't have means to make both the ends meet. Just about a few years back, I drove from Kolkata to Sundarban and happened to pass through the streets, and I could see the pain of people who are not even fully clad. Maybe they might have been from adjoining part of Bengal, East Bengal, or maybe some other way. But I could see the pathetic state of people over there who don't have enough means to make both ends meet. So why this has happened over the years, where the culture has disappeared. Not that Bengal is the only state which has deteriorated. Other state has prospered, other state is very good, or state we belong to, we can't take pride about that we are the best in the country. No, no, no. Every state has its own plus and minus. But right now we are focusing on Bengal. So I would look up to, and I would look forward to hearing from Ms. Shobha Mathur. And over to you, Mr. Lal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand, for giving your opening remarks. And as Dr. Rajiv Anand says, that we have to listen more from the participants. But only one point I would like to highlight, which he has mentioned, is that the West Bengal was very rich in culture initially. So what has happened now? Yes, everybody knows that the culture, for in almost every aspect, if we will see, because the Kolkata or the West Bengal was the financial hub of India. Like today, we say the financial capital is Mumbai. Earlier, it was the Kolkata, which was the financial capital of the country. And if for everything, we were looking towards the Bengal, and their tradition, their culture, their music, the art, everyone was very, very rich. Now, Dr. Rajiv Anand says why it has deteriorating, why it has deteriorated. There is a it's like $1 billion question, but definitely we will try to explore when we will talking to our panelists. Now, I would thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand, for giving your views. Without taking much time, now I would like to invite my next guest, and she's Mrs. Shobha Mathur. Mrs. Shobha Mathur is a philanthropist. She's a MA Psychology and gold medalist from Calcutta University. She is very tech savvy, has designed several free websites for NGOs. She has two of her own websites. Senior Girl is for seniors, and Unusual Career is for the youngsters who are looking for different careers. Senior Girl has more than 30 PDF ebooks on different hobbies free to download. Currently, she is publishing 2 free monthly e-magazines, Senior Girl in Hindi and English. She is very much involved with seniors, education, and other NGOs. Welcome, Mrs. Shobha Mathur, on our show. Mrs. Shobha Mathur, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand has mentioned. And he has raised a very pertinent question that at one time, India was known as a cultural hub because of the Kolkata. Kolkata was the leader, or I will say the Bengal, the entire Bengal, which includes even the east of Bengal, or which is now Bangladesh. Now, what happened in 100 years, I will say, or say 50 years or 60 years, or after the independence, gradually, it has deteriorated. But still, if still we feel that culture-wise, the tradition-wise, still the Bengal is having a different flavor. And as Dr. Rajiv Anand mentioned about the sweets, I'm sure the sweets are one of the best thing, which whenever we talk about Bengal, immediately our mouth is filled with Mishti Doi and whatnot. Now, we would like to know from you, West Bengal, culture and tradition. Mrs. Shobha Mathur, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me to this conference. Mr. Lal, I would like to correct you, humbly. My site is Senior Giri, not Senior Girl.
Okay, I think what? Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
Senior Giri,
Yeah.
and the magazines are also Senior Giri.
Okay,
In
okay.
Hindi and English.
Yes.
it
Sorry,
is not Senior Girl.
I stand corrected. I apologize.
Yeah.
It is a senior
I
Giri.
just a little thing that I must mention.
Yeah. You are right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Please.
Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, Dr. Anand, who introduced me. And I will give you a migrant prospect. You know, I'm not a Bengali, but I was there for 20 years. All my education was done there. And as a migrant, my prospect will be like Pravashi. Like Pravashi, Bengalis are everywhere else. We were Pravashi in Bengal. That's how it was. We left Calcutta more than 50 years ago. But I can confidently tell you that Calcutta has not left me. It is still there. Well, you know, in 60s, like you say, 60s was a really golden period in Calcutta. But for who? For the middle class and for the upper class. There was too much disparity between rich and poor. That's why the Naxalites movement came up. That's why the Marxist movement came up. That's why the union people came up. Because rich were too rich and the poor were too poor, and the distance was getting bigger and bigger between them. Though, of course, you know, they killed the goose. They killed the goose who laid the golden egg in trying to get all the eggs together. But in one thing I'll tell you, the culture of Calcutta is still there. It has not gone anywhere else. Calcutta culture, rich culture is still there. It's only the financial thing that has moved away from there. But the Bengalis are as much cultured as they were always were there. You know, even if you have not been to Bengal, everybody knows about Rasgulla, Sandesh, Robi Babu, and Durga Puja. You know, me to describe Bengali culture or Calcutta is like asking a fish how to describe, you know, what the water is around her. You know, it is like so much part of me. And I must say, the culture, the word culture means different things to different people. Like the doctors will always think of culture as urine culture or blood culture or tissue culture. But we are not talking about that culture, I think. We are talking about the other culture. Bengal, like you rightly said, Bengal has a very rich history of culture. And Bengal is not only West Bengal or East Bengal. Bengal diaspora is part of Tripura and part of Assam also. That whole region is Bengali region. Though now politically and geographically you have tried to separate them, but actually they are up to Sikkim and up to Tripura, they are Bengali diaspora everywhere. Culture here, you know, here the culture is the same. In mean, they have the same language, they have the same attire, they have the same food habits, they have the similar religions. Though of course the Hindus and Muslims will be separate, but they are still bound by same language. Muslims and the Hindus. Literature, visual and performing arts, customs, beliefs, social practices, philosophies. This whole region shares it all. It's not only one person, you know, so East Bengal and West Bengal are not culturally different. They are still the same. And Rabindranath is the only poet who has written the national song for national anthem for both the countries. He has written Jangan for us and Amar Donar Bangla for Bangladesh. He is the only person who has written for two countries. I think in the world, nobody has written that. You know, initially it was all Hindu thing, but since the Bakhtiyar Sultanate came, Islamic influence also came, and this became a melting pot of so many different influences. Also, the British also landed there first, so British influence also came. It was the, like you mentioned, it was the biggest trading thing, and so trading itself brings so many different cultures inside and so many different influences. You know, Bengalis have a mark in every sphere. Out of 10 Nobel Prize winners of India, there 3 are from Bengal, and other 3 more have Bengal connection. C.V. Raman was teaching in presidency. Mother Teresa was in Calcutta, city of joy. And Ronald Ross, who found out about malaria, he was also from Calcutta. He did research in Calcutta. So there actually we have 6 people who have connection with Calcutta. Bengal is always known for its new ideas for politics, religion, philosophy, pollution, anything. That's how Naxalites came. That's how the Marxists came in this time. Before it was Bhakti movement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramakrishna Paramahansa came. Vivekanand came. Shyamacharya Lahiri came. Then Brahmo Samaj also, you know, they came to reform the Hinduism because there were too much sati pratha and so many things were coming in. So the Brahmo Samaj came to reform the thing. All these things, you know, they have started from Bengal and somehow they take up the imagination of the whole country. People start following them.
One moment, please.
Pardon?
Just I will just mute. I will just mute. Yes, please go ahead.
In today's time, if you see, ISKCON, the Prabhupada is from Bengal. And Aurobindo Ghosh ka jo hai, wo Aurobindo Ashram, Aurobindo, he is from Bengal. Yoganand is from Bengal. So even now today, we have got so many Bengalis who are in the forefront of spreading new ideas. So the culture is still there, but I think our perspective is changing. You know, we were there when the Naxalism began. And I can tell you, you know, there was the Gherao thing started while we were there. And my husband was also Gherao once. Later it became a symbol of prominence that, oh, Gherao hua tumhara? Okay, bada aadmi hai. If Gherao nahi hua, to chota aadmi hai. So it became a prestige symbol. But if you read Mahashweta Devi, she has been very, very sympathetic to Naxalites. I'm sure if any of you have read Mahashweta Devi, she has written very, very powerfully about Naxalites, why it came up and how it spread. We have to understand why things happen, not just because, you know, we can't go on just blaming things that they are happening like this. There's always a root cause for everything. After reading Mahashweta Devi, even I am sympathetic to my Naxalites. Bengal is very rich for its textiles. Dhaka Malmal has always been very famous all over the world. And even now, we have got Tat Sari, muslins, Jamdani, Baluchari, Gara, Tasar, Murshidabadi silk. There's so much variety in textiles, especially for sarees, that it's difficult to choose. Then Kanta sari, the Shantiniketan and Ravi Babu brought a distinct influence on everything of Bengal, in music, in clothing, in dancing, in literature, everything. He had a very strong influence. Rabindranath, Rabindra Sangeet, Rabindra dance are a separate, completely separate Vida. The sarees, you know, all over India we wear sarees. But Bengali, Sharmishta ji, you should have worn a Bengali saree, you know. You should have worn in the traditional way. So we can show what Bengali saree looks like. But it has got its charm of its own, these Bengali sarees. Bengali singers, like you said, very rightly said, we have got a very strong influence of Bengalis or Hindu in Bollywood. The singers, the actors, directors, the story writers. Initially, I think all the pictures were made on Bengali novels. Biraj Babu and Do Bigha Zameen and all those, they were all based on Bengali novels. And like Mr. Anand said, you know, Bengal has a very rich culture of clubs. And this idea of club, you know, we were also a member of so many clubs. And the biggest thing is that tent clubs that are in the Maidan, Calcutta Maidan. There are so many different small tents belonging to different groups. And they are no way like the clubs we see in the pictures. They are not no way like that, but they are very in keeping the people together of similar interest or similar group. And I've never seen that kind of club culture anywhere else. We've been to so many places, but I've never seen that kind of club culture anywhere else. That's true. Then Bengali food, of course, without much, you can't think of Bengalis. Machar jhol. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't know anything about it, but I know about Sandesh and Rasgulla and Mishti Doi. I really enjoy those.
Okay.
Luchi, of course, Luchi.
Right.
But my family is a non-vegetarian family, so they enjoy all kind of fish. And they've actually, Bengalis are this is the only puja where they serve non-veg things to Devi, because they consider Devi has come home to her pier. So no vegetarian things are served. All non-veg things are served there for puja, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. Miss Mathur, you would like to say anything more, or shall I take you in the next round?
You can continue.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Shobha Mathur, for giving your views. And Mrs. Shobha Mathur has mentioned so many things. I'm sure our viewers have been enriched by the things what she has explained. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mathur, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next guest, and he's Mr. Subhashish Sunil Das. Mr. Das is the founder trustee of Amra Prabhasi. He is a management professional with 35 years of corporate experience. He is a Bengali from eastern part of India, is now settled in Mumbai since 1993. He is associated with many charitable and social support programs. Mr. Subhashish is founder member of a charitable trust since 2001. This trust is organizing a very popular Durga Puja since 2003. Welcome, Mr. Subhashish Sunil Das on our show. Mr. Das, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand has mentioned, and you also heard what Mrs. Shobha Mathur has mentioned. Now, being a Bengali, we would like to know from you, West Bengal culture and tradition. Mr. Subhashish Sunil Das, please.
Namaskar. Thanks, Mr. Lal, for inviting me. And good morning once again to all the panelists. The topic for today is West Bengal, culture and tradition. But as one of the panelists said, the culture of Bengal is not limited to West Bengal alone. The culture of Bengal is actually carried throughout the world by Bengalis who are residing in most of the countries in the world. So far, I am concerned, I am out of Bengal since 1990, 30 years, and I'm in Maharashtra. But culturally, we are very much attached with our Bengal culture. And in fact, the organization which Mr. Lal just now mentioned is nothing but an idealization of carrying forward Bengal culture in Mumbai. That's one of the reasons for creating this organization. Coming to the word culture, it's a very, very broad word, but to summarize it, it basically means the behavioral pattern, the language, the social norm, the value system, the principle, which are followed by a group of people who speaks the same language for hundreds of years. So far, we Bengalis are concerned, as I read, I believe our origin is also, like many other Indian community, is from Central Asia, one of those Indo-Aryan tribes who moved to India thousands of years back. The language which we speak also originates from the same Pali, which is incidentally the language for most of the Indian linguistic people. Coming to West Bengal, today, particularly since last 15, 20 years, or maybe a little more, every time in a group or in a household, whenever there is a discussion of Bengal, as West Bengal is popularly known, it is normally around the violence which is taking place almost on a day-to-day basis in various cities, urban or rural areas of Bengal. These violence are mostly, if not 100%, related to politics. Somewhere over the period of time, Bengal politics has become a very violent politics. There was a time when violence with politics was related to UP and Bihar. We used to see in television the boys or young men wearing masks and with guns during election time. Today, you won't find such thing in UP and Bihar, or in Jharkhand, or in Uttarakhand, or in UP. But this culture has become a regular routine with West Bengal. Unfortunate, but that's a reality. However, that's not Bengal. I visit Bengal twice a year, even now. When you go to the rural areas, or even city like Kolkata, the inherent tradition and culture is still very much there. And this is something which no one can erase. The reason being, if you look at the history of Bengal, there is a thing called Bengal Renaissance, which started way back in very early 19th century, around 1810, 1815. There were certain pioneers in those days. To begin with is Raja Ram Mohan Rai, a very well-known social reformer. And what he is known for, I'm sure the panelists here and a lot of the viewers will know, there was a time in the late 18th and early 19th century when young girls in their very early teen used to be burned alive along with their deceased husband. It was a norm, it was a brutal culture, particularly in rural Bengal. Raja Ram Mohan Rai is the person who fought for years together against the perpetrator of such, I will use the word crime. And with the help of the British, he could bring in a law to abolish this practice. He was immediately followed by another pioneer whose name incidentally became famous once again last year because of some political rally in Kolkata. That is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was basically an educationist. He is the one who first, probably in India, brought in formal education, and he published a book in Bengali called Borno Porichoy. In English, Borno Porichoy is nothing but introduction to letters. And it is through this book, probably for the first time, the formal education started in Bengal. Ishwar Chandra is also known for another very important social reform which he brought in, and which became a practice first in Bengal, then across the country. That is the remarriage of the widows. Those years, those days, as young girls used to get married to comparatively much older men, these young girls used to become widow at a very, very early age. And then they used to be sent to Kashi or Vrindavan. But those who have gone through the history books know what was Kashi and what was Vrindavan for these girls. Ishwar Chandra brought in this social reform, a very important reform, that is widow marriage. Almost around the same time came another personality who is globally known now, Swami Vivekananda. In the Parliament of Religion in Chicago on 11 September 1893, he delivered a speech on Hinduism. And that was probably the first time globally people came to know what are the nuances of Hinduism. It is a different thing that Swami Vivekananda, the disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa Deva, became a household name not only in India, not only in Bengal, but globally. He founded Ramakrishna Mission and Sevashram, which is one of the most prominent social service organization. This also brings another very important social service organization from Bengal, that is Bharat Sevashram. These are the two organizations who are probably pioneer in the field of social service, and not only in India, but globally. Going forward, as some of the panelists have already mentioned, Bengal have a very rich tradition of poetry, songwriters, and singers, and other art forms exponents. To begin with, the first name that comes and which everyone knows is Rabindranath Tagore. There is no need to mention much. Apart from Tagore, Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay and Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay are the other two globally renowned names. Along with them, there are Tarashankar Bandyopadhyay, there is Manik Bandyopadhyay, there is Upendra Kishore Rai Chaudhuri, Sukumar Rai Chaudhuri, Mahashweta Devi, Ashapurna Devi. The list is long. Then we have the Sitar Mistr, Pandit Ravi Shankar, also from Bengal, who actually introduced sitar as an instrument globally. And George Harrison, one of the four famous Beatles, actually played live with Ravi Shankar some 47 years ago. When it comes to the film industry, be it Mumbai, be it Kolkata, there are names beginning with Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Hrithik Roshan, Torun Majumdar, and Shakti Samanta, and many, many Bengali directors who have shown in Mumbai. We have got singers like Hemanta Mukhopadhyay, Pankaj Mulli, Manna De, Kishore Kumar. So when you talk about culture, and if we talk about the art of singing or songs, the list is endless. Come to the field of science. Even there are certain names which are world renowned, starting with Jagadish Chandra Bose, Meghnad Shah, Satyendranath Bose. Coming to Nobel laureates, as all of you have mentioned already, there are three of them who are Bengalis: Tagore, Amartya Sen, and Abhijit Banerjee. Mother Teresa actually became famous through her charity of home based out of Kolkata. C.V. Raman was also a professor in Presidency College. Even in the field of sports, when India was a major force in the field of football, and India participated in Olympics and played with major countries, whether it is from Europe or Asia, there were Bengalis who captained the Indian team, whether it is Shailen Manna, P.K. Banerjee, Chuni Goswami. In the field of cricket, everybody is well known. I mean, everybody knows about Dada, Saurav Ganguly, but fact remains, 40 years before him, there was another gentleman who held a world record. It is Pankaj Rai, who was the first Bengali test cricketer, along with Shute Banerjee and Probishan. Even in the field of hockey and tennis, I don't know how many of you know, Leander Paes is actually born and brought up in Kolkata. Leslie Claudius, who has represented India in multiple Olympics, is also out of Kolkata. Gurbakh Singh, a Sikh world famous player, is also from Kolkata. Now, when you look at these names, it also shows Kolkata is not just Bengalis. Kolkata or Bengal is for everybody who has settled down in Bengal. One of the biggest contribution of Bengal, if you really look at the history of India, last 40, 50, 60 years, post-independence, you will find least number of cases of casteism in Bengal. Caste system on which many of Indian politics are based. In Bengal, you will not find it. Dakshineshwar Kali Mandir. Other than Kalighat, Dakshineshwar is the most famous Kali temple across the world. Dakshineshwar was not established by a Brahmin or a Kayastha, Kshatriya. It was established by a lower class lady, Rani Rashman. Brahmins initially refused to offer puja in that particular temple. It is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa Dev who agreed. So casteism is the least in Bengal. Another area where Bengal has contributed right from the beginning is in the field of education. India's first university is Kolkata University, established in 1857. India's first medical college, also established first in Kolkata in 1835. And there are many other renowned institutions which originated in Kolkata. Now, to conclude my contribution in this webinar, there are three elements of Bengalis which I will touch upon. One is Rabindra Sangeet. It is said whether a Bengali is in Antarctic or Arctic, Sahara or in Himalaya, until and unless he sing or recite one stanza of Rabindranath's poem or song, he is an incomplete Bengali. So Rabindra Sangeet is a part and parcel of Bengali culture. That's it, number one. Number two is the food-loving habit of Bengalis. And that food-loving habit is not limited to Macher Jhol. I don't know how many of you are aware. There are 7 types of lentils or dal which are prepared in a Bengali household. At least 7 types. There is a thing called Pancho Benjan, means 5 types of vegetable dishes, which is cooked invariably in any Bengali festival. And incidentally, during Durga Puja, there is no non-veg. Ma is never offered any non-veg. Yes, in the evening, Bengalis in their household or elsewhere would love to have non-vegetarian dish. But so far as Ma is concerned, no. However, in one form of Kali Puja, there are 2 forms of Kali Puja. In one, which is Shama, where there is no non-veg. But another is Chandi, Mahakali. There the non-veg is also. So coming back to the food habit, we love our aloo posto and we also love our biryani equally. And Rasgulla is probably Bengal's contribution to global community since last maybe 100 years. Last but not the least is the Durga Puja, which is also a part and parcel of every Bengalese culture, whether he is in Mumbai or Kolkata or New Jersey or London. It is probably a festival where there is light, there is color, there is puja, there are stotras. Then there are Bhog Prasad, there are family gifting, donations. But mostly it is an assimilation of people. When you go to Kolkata College Street or College Square, Durga Puja, in the queue, you will find Bengalis as well as people who do not speak Bengali as mother tongue, but who are equally Bengalis. So Durga Puja is also an assimilation of various cultures. Last but not the least, Bengalis are highly nationalistic. As Mr. Lal was mentioning, during the struggle of independence, hundreds of Bengali youth, men and women have sacrificed their life. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose has actually taught the Bengalis, first you are an Indian, then you are a Bengali. With this, I'll conclude my.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Subhashish Sunil Das, for giving such a descriptive, I must say, the description what you have given in such a way that you have explained each and everything, right from the culture, the tradition, the sports, the music, Bollywood, Tollywood, everything you have explained in such a way that again it's a enrichment to the knowledge of all the viewers. I'm sure such type of people, this shows the Bengalis really have that culture, tradition, and educational background. And when you have mentioned about the medical college, my connection to the Kolkata is that my grandfather did his MB, because at that time there was no MBBS, somewhere in early 1900 from Presidency Medical College, Kolkata. So that's why my relation, direct relation is like this. And other relation is one of my son-in-law is also a Bengali. So I also know that what is the condition of Bengal, how rich culture. And you rightly said that every Bengali is having that musical, I must say, that sting in him, that he or she is always, if even if you talk after, for some time, you will find a Bengali, he or she will start singing something so beautifully that it is really is something which is very much one must praise that culture and tradition and knowledge. Thank you very much, Mr. Subhashish Sunil Das, for giving such a good knowledgeable talk. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Miss Sashmita Sharma. Miss Sharmista Sharma. Ms. Sharmista Sharma is a senior journalist and strategist based at Lucknow. Till very recently, she was working with Jagran Prakashan Limited, where she spent more than 14 years, launched the Dainik Jagran branch to Inext, iNext, a tabloid
Yes.
in 2006 with a new bilingual Hindi as well as English concept with youth and young professionals as content focus. Today, it has its presence in 12 cities and it is a broadsheet that is differentiated in content. She has spent 20 years in the Times of India, where she launched 7 pullouts, including Times Property and Education Times, etc. She was art critic for the Times of India, Lucknow, for 15 years. She also has long experience of heading the main news desk and taking out editions in the Times of India and the Pioneer. She started her career with National Herald, all in Lucknow. She has so far done 41 books as author and as content head for all of 50. The genre ranges from those based on entrepreneur profiles to those on places of worship, besides books on the culture of different cities. She has she had authored and bought out 49 coffee table books in the last 1 decade with innovation, ideation, research, orientation, and planning as key focus areas. Over the years, have a rich experience of translation work both in Hindi as well as in English with UNICEF, WHO, and government agencies. Currently, she is empaneled for translation work with Legit Quest, a legal tech company that operates a legal research platform with Indian case laws. Welcome, Miss Sharmishta Sharma on our show. First of all, because I think there was a technical hitch initially,
Yes.
please turn your mobile on a horizontal condition. Just turn it like this. Instead of this, turn it like this. Yes, please. So that, and if possible, if someone is there, if they can switch off the light, which is backside of you on the
I'll
top.
do it. I'll do it.
Yeah, just because we want that the viewers can see you nicely. The backside, the other light, the backside, the light which is on the wall of the backside of your chair. The backside, yes, please. Now it's fine. Sorry, but that's why we want to you
That's
all
okay.
to join in time so that we can. Anyway,
I'm so sorry about that.
Miss Sharma, you have heard
Yes.
Dr. Rajiv Anand, you have heard Mrs. Shobha Mathur, you have heard Mr.
Yes.
Subhashish Sunil Das, and they have given their views and details about the culture and tradition of West Bengal. Now, we would like to know from you, West Bengal culture and tradition. Miss Shamishta Sharma, please.
Thank you so much. I am so very happy to be part of this panel, very, very knowledgeable panel. And what I'm going to touch upon at the moment is on the essence of being a Bengali. Nothing very, very specific, just the essence of being a Bengali. I would like to share that I belong to Uttar Pradesh, the Hindi heartland, right? I'm married to a Punjabi, but I'm a Bengali first. I mean, that is the way it is. That is the way I look at myself. And that is what Bengali culture is all about. So, where India is concerned, the diversity is amazing. It's so varied, it's mind boggling, it's awe inspiring. And amongst it all, once you mention Bengali culture, a soft image of sweetness emerges in terms of the language. And then comes, of course, lots and lots of music, as all my panelists have been saying, and literature and food that teases the palate with all its distinctiveness. And another thing is, all of this, steeped in emotions, is so much full of feelings, wrought with feelings. I mean, it must be sounding like an overdose of mellifluousness, actually. But believe you me, there's no confusion. This is how it is. Everything is full of so much of feeling and emotions. There's so much of music, so much of literature, so much of creativity all around. That is what Bengali culture is all about. Food and music are two strong, ornate pillars of this culture. And besides, of course, there is films, as my panelists have already mentioned. There is films, there's theater, and overall, above and everything is football. Fine. But the bottom line are the two things that I'm going to speak about. That's food and music. Well, delve into food history. You will come to know that Bengal was the granary of the Mughal Empire. Not surprising at all. With nature on the forefront in the region, it was fish called the fruits of the river, rice, lentils, and vegetables that served up a rich fare, the lingering, pungent taste of mustard and posto. Oh my God, posto, which my honorable panelists have already mentioned, is something that goes without saying. It colors most of the menus. That most of the menus are in fact colored with posto and mustard. Modernity and English education brought in the bakeries, all the bakery products, the cakes, the custard puddings. Of course, that is what European culture was all about. Yum is the word, in fact. for all these intellectual stimulants. When I say intellectual stimulants, where creativity is concerned, Bengalis rule. They bring creativity into all of what they do. You talk about the arts, you talk about the music, of course, and then you go into films, theater, wherever. It goes without saying, as Subhajit ji has just now said, the list is truly endless of the names that you can speak about, you can mention. Now, being a Bengali, I don't remember not waking up in the morning to some music in the house, some music playing in the house. And the aroma of pachporon, which is the essential ingredient for so many Bengali dishes, wafting in the air. They are so particular, Bengalis, about the spices that they use. Believe me, they don't have a garam masala common which they put into everything. It has to be varied for each and every genre of dish. That is the scale of, their culinary skills. Go. Now, going to buy fish in the morning was an essential exercise for my father. He would have his chai and what he called his biscuit, and then get ready and leave to buy fish. He would come back very happy, explaining what variety he got, and then he would get ready for his office, while my mother would get, busy preparing with the same love and care, and serve him garam bhat with mache jhol, aloo bhate, with dollops of desi ghee. And then when she is picking up the dish, she's actually sifting and sorting to understand which member of the family would like which piece of fish. So when it came to Muro Laja, that is the head and the tail, it had to be kept for somebody who really relished it. So that is the extent of love and care and indulgence in food, and particularly fish. Now, when you go list the other varieties, some of them have already been listed here. There's chachuri, there's ghonto, there is ombol, right? Something that I dig really, which I really enjoy having, is kosha mangsho. That is bhuna gosht. And if your mangsho and biryani come with an aloo, it is positively coming from the Bengali kitchen. That is the way it is. Then there are the rolls, the bhajas, and what is an evening without some jhalmuri? It is a must in the evenings. And then come the sweets. Oh my God, no amount of Bengali culture, discussion can be complete without the mention of food, as we have heard both our panelists say already. So the moment you mention Rasgulla, it is literally dripping with its sweetness. That is how it is. And a very close contender is Shandesh. And if it is Khejur Gure Shandesh, oh my God, that is something that is an absolute delicacy. Then there is Bonde, Dorbesh, Pantua, Chom Chom, and a whole range of chena options, rounded off with Mishti Doi, of course. Fills me with nostalgia. One thing I would like to say is that what we Bengalis really love combining and eating is dahi and sweet. Try it, you will love it. This is something that is not tried by any other culture of food eating, I'm sure. So it actually makes a delicacy of sorts with doi and mishti combo. Now, when it comes to music, well, in Shakespeare's words, if music be the food for love, play on, is the truest for the Bengalis. We just wish to dive into it, we crave for it, and we stay in it. Music is our life, which is something which has already been said, but this is something that I would like to stress upon, that the range is huge. And where do we start? We start with Robindra Sangeet. This is one genre that I truly and truly love. I live by. Robindra Sangeet, it has Gito Bidan. Gito Bidan has 3 units with categorized, actually it has been categorized under different heads by Rabindranath Tagore. And then of course there are the Nritya Natikas. And then come Nojrul Giti by Qazi Nozrul Islam, Shama Sangeet, and a wide range of folk. Not to miss, of course, Adunik Sangeet from current films and private compositions. I mean, it is such a long list, you can go on and on. But one personal experience I would like to share. Supposing it starts raining. So what will you see? Some people run into the kitchen to make some pakodi and chai to enjoy the rains, the smell of wet earth. That is the way it is, right? But how do I remember the rains? My mother used to run and pull out the harmonium, take out the Gitovitan, open all the rainy season songs, and all of us would sit and sing together. Now, can you think of anything more beautiful to welcome the rains? That is what Bengali culture is all about. Of course, one could begin with the baul, the strains of which can be heard in the village lanes and by lanes. And then they travel over ponds and green patches to reach the adjoining towns. Now, music is actually synonymous with being a Bengali, part of the very chemistry and inherited wealth, because for most, sans any proper training or initiation, it is very much there. So music forms an entire good part of culture curriculum as well. So while a child could be preparing for his maths and his science tuitions, he has to go for his music classes as well. Very important, and no jokes there. That is the way it is. So serious about it all. It's an absolute must do. We may have gone into hard metal rock and all of that in Bengali music too, and modern compositions, but the notes that linger do not go pop. They ring from the yesteryears, the true Bengali pointers. That is how it is. Each and every facet of culture shines through beautifully in the life of a Bengali, as he does all else, as life chugs along, humming his fab tune and eating to his heart's content. So, to sum up, this is what Bengali culture is all about.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sharmista Sharma, for giving such a descriptive description about the Bengali culture. And today we are very lucky to have all the you 3 panelists who has given enriched, rather I must say, our knowledge, viewers' knowledge, and giving the real picture of West Bengal. But now, definitely, I am going to ask some tough questions so that the viewers will get the real idea, which I'm sure you people will be able to answer properly. My first question goes to Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand, everybody spoke about very highly about the food habits of West Bengal, and everybody says about rasgulla, mishti dhoi, etc. But as per the research or as per the data, the maximum deaths in West Bengal is due to the cardiac disease. Almost 50%, almost I'm saying 47% or 40, between 44 to 47% or 48% people are losing their life because of the cardiac problem. Don't you think it is the eating habit that is killing the Bengalis? Dr. Rajivanand, please.
Yeah, let me make an attempt to answer your precise question, because it's not so easy to answer that question, because by and large, Bengalis are not obese. They're not very
Yes.
rarely you would find 1 out of 1,000 pot bellied Bengali. Otherwise, they're usually thin.
Yes.
And eating seafood and eating fish is always considered healthy. Yet, the data which you have produced is certainly a matter of concern, and one need to look into, and I would also follow it up. I would not like to fail this opportunity, fail in my duty to mention two more things about the Bengali which impressed me. One, most people, especially women, they wear simple dresses, yet they look very elegant. They don't wear expensive sarees like many other part of the country, but they still look very elegant. The simple dress, which is one special feature of the Bengali culture. And second, I would like to place on record that traditionally over the last 200 years, Bengal is the only, West Bengal is the only part of the country where there has been a crucible of different cultures, much before than any other state. Bengal has the privilege of having foreigners in form of British people. There were a lot of Biharis, a lot of UPIs, a lot of Gujaratis and Marwadis and Bengalis, and they have been very little ethnic rights. So Bengalis are tolerant. Till 60 years back or so, they have been highly tolerant. They have been highly docile. They have been people-loving people. They love other people. They accept other people. I don't know why the cardiac arrest rate is so high. It's very interesting you brought it out. Thank you, Mr. Lal. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I was also shocked when I do the research. Why? Because Bengalis, as you rightly said, they are very lean and thin. Always, very few are obese. But still, this figure is really alarming. And this thing has coming in light when Saurav Ganguly got the problem, and twice he has been giving the stents, etc. So that's why I have to see why it is happening. And I found that they are having that much problem as far as the heart is concerned. So I'm sure that our panelists and those who are viewing and from the West Bengal should see to it and get their at least heart checkup regularly, so that they should not go in that. Thank you very much. Now my question goes to Mrs. Shobha. When everything is so nice, you all have spoken so nicely, why the culture is going down? As Dr. Rajiv Anand has mentioned initially, something is, apart from politics, but still the people always feel that now the culture is going down, and the culture which we have heard, we have seen initially is not there. Mrs. Shobha, please.
I don't know. I don't feel it's going down.
Okay.
I don't feel it's going down. I think people are still there, but everybody has a different perception. Because Bengalis are as talented as they were before. Everything is going on as in the writers are there, the actors are there, the singers are there. I don't see why somebody is saying that culture is going down. Culture is not going down. I don't think it's going down. At least it's
okay. Okay, thank you very much. Now my question goes to Mr. Das. Mr. Das, you mentioned that in UP, Bihar and other places, earlier there used to be more Huglis, now it is. Don't you think it's a media hype which has created a negative impact or impression about the Bengal, West Bengal? They are just creating the negative impact. I remember, if you might be also remembering, in 1968, there was a famous case happened at the time of Ashok Kumar night at Ravindra Sarovar Stadium. It was hyped like anything. I was only 14 years old at that time, but it has come to my memory when I was preparing this program immediately. And I was now I can think that it is not a thing which has to be hyped so much. But every time, if anything goes there, it is hyped. Everywhere in UP, I belongs to UP, lots of things are happening which has not been hyped by the media people. Either the West Bengal people are so much intellectuals or so much advanced that they want to show everything, whether good or bad, and project themselves without any bias, which is not there in other states. Mr. Das, please.
See, when we talk about the media, particularly the electronic media, because print media has a limitation of geography. Now, electronic media itself is a question mark, particularly in last few years. There is a thing called yellow journalism. Now, we really don't know which one is green and which one is yellow. But whenever today I hear some of the national news channels, whether it is English or Hindi, I get a feeling they have distinct inclination for some politicalism. It is no more those days when journalism used to be absolutely neutral. I remember someone said news means accumulation of khobor from north, east, west, and south. Today, it does not look like that. I'm talking particularly again about electronic media. It is again the tier 2. So when you talk about media hype, certainly there is an amount of media hype. And everybody wants a story. Something, in Bengali they say, public ki khabe. Public ki khabe means what you can feed the viewer on a particular day, which news the viewer will take mostly. Now that's one part. Now the other part, I think the economic situation in Bengal, particularly the job, the unemployment, has something to do with this violence part. Think of it, you are in a town where 70–80% of the people are employed. And they are busy. Common people are mostly concerned about his day-to-day need fulfillment. His house, his children, his parents, his children's education, his job. Like Sharmishta said, for a Bengali, macher bazare giye mach kine ana, going to a fish market buying. That's his priority. Now, vis-a-vis, you take a scenario where a sizable percentage are unemployed. Now, they get certain amount of pocket money or whatever you want to call it from political parties. Or they get certain, temporary job kind of thing from a political party. So they have nothing else to do but to take a jhanda and, doing unconstructive work.
Okay.
So it is a combination of these two.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Das, for giving your frank answer. Now my question goes to Ms. Sharma. Ms. Sharma, you are working with a legal firm, so you know the legalities much, and plus you are a senior journalist. You have worked and you are based in Lucknow. And you know that in West Bengal, there was a tradition. I will not say now, because now they have started the widow pension. But the tradition was that whenever there is a widow, whether young or old or any of age, they used to send to Kashi and Vrindavan. As Dr. Rajivanand has mentioned about Vrindavan, I also belongs to the same area. And my mother, Mrs. Surajlata Goel, along with Mrs. Mohini Giri, they constructed one Madham for those widows who are from West Bengal. And whenever I goes to Mathura, I visit that place. And the famous Offrey who has been in limelight, who has taken the interview of those prince and the now no more Prince Harry and others, she also visited that place. But the condition, when it was a condition, do you think it is a cultural, or it was no, why it has happened in that particular area of West Bengal? Why not in other states? Mrs. Sharma, please.
Well, what I understand is that this has been part of the culture. This has been a tradition which has been followed. And that is how it is. And it has been completely adhered to. I mean, we may consider it to be, we know also, not only consider, but know that it is something so very harsh and something so very not done. And we need to think beyond this. All of that is there. But yes, this is something that is part of the culture. And I will term it as the dark side of the culture. That is how it is. And I'm so glad that things have progressed far beyond that today, and far beyond, in fact, in terms of thought and everything. People of Bengal have progressed much farther. But if that has been the base, it is very sad.
Yes, and now one good thing is that from 2010, the government of West Bengal has started the widow pension of 70, 50 rupees or so. So at least now
Yes.
that influx has reduced, although the influx is still there, but it has reduced drastically. But I'm sure that if West Bengal will, which were having the house of Raja Rammohn Roy, Ishwarchand Vidyasagar, and all those top people, Swami Vivekanand, Ramkrishna Paramhans, if they will see to it that this culture, which is really a blot to everyone, has to be stopped. Thank you very much for giving your very frank views. So today you have seen the very, very rich culture and tradition of West Bengal, and all the panelists has explained. And really, it is such a soft culture, such a soft tradition. Yes, exceptions are always there. There's Naxalism is there, or the widow problems are there. But if we see the overall, we find that the Bengalis are very, very cultured, traditional people, unlike all others, because they have learned from the very beginning, and that is the Ravindra Sangeet. And when their life, their day starts with the Ravindra Sangeet, one can understand the music, the impact of the music on their life. Their eating habits, they eat so much sweet. They are so sweet people. Only my worry is about that cardiac thing. I'm sure Dr. Rajiv Anand will also do some more research. I will also do more research. And the next program, which we are going to do on next Thursday, about, although it was on the West Bengal elections, but definitely we may have some point why it is happening. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. Thank you very much, Mrs. Shobha. And thank you very much, Mr. Das. Thank you very much, Ms. Sharma. And thank you all the viewers for watching, which is today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, Newsgaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you everyday new topic. And tomorrow, media conference with Lal Goel, the topic is Essence of Education. And the panelists are Professor Dr. P. Subramania, Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University, Mangaluru; Mr. V.M. Ramlingam, Behavioral Scientist, International Master Trainer of NLP, Bangalore; Professor Dr. R. Gopal, Director and Head of the Department, D.Y. Patil University, New Mumbai; Dr. Javed Jamil, Head of Chair in Islamic Studies and Research, Yenupaya University, Mangalore. So please do join tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30. And thank you all the viewers for watching such an enlightening